Welcome to Build Mode. I'm Isabel Johannesson, TechCrunch's Startup Battlefield editor and your host. On this podcast, we're bringing you conversations with founders, VCs, and operators who offer candid startup wisdom. This week, we're talking about how founders have managed to target the untargetable. Through Startup Battlefield, I've worked with startups of all shapes and sizes, but they all share the same goal: getting their brainchild born into the world and into customers' hands. Weird metaphor, but okay. For this episode, I spoke to two founders who have managed to reach two very niche and very different audiences. Jazz Schembri-Stothart is the co-founder of Luna, an app whose user base is teenage girls, and Andre Peart, who is the founder of Untapped Solutions, a marketplace that helps untapped populations connect with jobs in the corporate world. On the surface, their audiences couldn't be more different, but the way that they earn trust, get creative about who pays, and meet users where they are offers universally useful go-to-market lessons for any founder trying to reach their niche, no matter the size. These are not stories about growth hacking or viral loops. These are stories about guerrilla marketing at Taylor Swift concerts, building trust through lived experience, and turning your biggest constraint into your competitive advantage.
Hi, I'm Jazz Schembri-Stothart, one of the co-founders of Luna, which is the app for teen girls to help them through adolescence. So you can think of us like a digital big sister in your pocket, there to guide you through teenhood.
And Luna was actually one of our top 5 Startup Battlefield companies last year. So I would love to chat a little bit about what were some of the challenges you faced, specifically launching an app for teens.
For us, it was very important to get teen buy-in. As you can see, I am no longer a teenager today, and neither is Joe, my co-founder. And so building teen buy-in from the jump was so important. Yes, we thought this was a great idea, a great concept. Everyone needed this sort of big sister app when growing up, but we really wanted to test this out with teenagers. So the first thing we did, Isabel, was actually just reach out to anyone we knew who had like contact with a school, whether they were like teachers, dated a teacher, and set up as many conversations as we could at schools across the UK. And essentially did this like roadshow of like presenting our ideas to teenagers and then basically getting grilled by them. Essentially, they loved what we were building. Don't get us wrong. They were quite brutal at times with what it looked like, color palette, even what we were wearing. But the main thing that we came away with is like teens really want this app to exist more than we could have even imagined, to the point when they were literally emailing and messaging us after us like, hey, where can we download the app? Like, can we help you build it? And it was that piece around, can we help you build it, that really stuck with Joe and I. And so we decided to recruit this army of like Luna ambassadors from all these schools that we went to essentially help us like design and launch V1 of the app. So like every week we would set these like teen girls missions, whether that was around like what the app looked like, the fonts, the branding, even like around our go-to-market strategy. And they would like spend the week working on these missions and send us feedback and stuff.
Right, because I mean, for something like this, getting that trust is essential. So I think it's really interesting that you guys went through the schools, right? Because it's not always that the schools themselves are the cool place to find new apps for kids these days. But what did you do when you went into the schools? What did those sessions look like?
Yeah, it's definitely not the cool way to be launching things, I guess. But at the end of the day, we were like, where can you find hubs of teenagers? And it was school. So it did just feel like the most obvious place to go to. So we basically took like our wireframes on Figma and got them to like click through it, walk through it, like literally workshop it out, like add post-its around like what they liked, what they didn't like, got them to like draw out new concepts. And so we didn't make it like a dry school presentation. We were like, oh gosh, like another assembly. Like we actually got them involved. When we had like the V1 ready on Test Flight, we got them to download Test Flight and try it. And so we really did like get them involved in the process. And it didn't just stop at these workshops. Like until this day now, we literally have like monthly calls and workshops with our ambassadors to show them like the next set of features that we're shipping, or like our next batch of like content ideas and things like that. So yeah, that's what we were doing at the schools, but it really does continue now in 2025 when we're no longer visiting schools as much.
Yeah, but that's really interesting. It must have been such a great educational opportunity for these kids to see what it's like to build a company, right? So, I mean, not only are you coming in to do market research and focus groups, but I mean, I can imagine in high school if I had some, cool founder girls come in and tell me this is how you build a business and we need your feedback, I would have been so inspired by that. So, that's a really awesome activity that you guys did. Can you talk a bit more about what these brand ambassadors are doing today? How do they engage with you and your customers?
Yeah, definitely. So we have two sets of brand ambassadors. You have like the product ambassadors, self-named the behind the scenes queens, which is really cute. They work with my co-founder Joe on all things like product. And then we also have the social media ambassadors, and they work with me on our TikTok accounts basically, and are the face of our teen go-to-market strategy. So the way this really came about was not planned either. To begin, when we were trying to figure out like what content resonates with our audience, we were literally trying everything on TikTok, from like days in the life of like us as founders, our like medics, like informational carousels, literally like all sorts. And then one day, one of these brand ambassadors who we'd met from the schools sent us a message and was like, "Hey, Jazz and Joe, like I've made this video for your TikTok account. Can you post it?" And I was like, "Oh, like, I'm not sure we're allowed to do this. Like, can I speak to your mom?" So I messaged her mom and she said, "Yeah, Lily really wants to be in front of the camera. Like, she's really trying to build her own account, like give you full consent to do that." So we were like, okay, let's just post it and see what happens. And it blew up. Got like more comments than ever. It was the first time we'd gone viral. And we basically quickly realized that what our teens wanted to see was like relatable content made by other teenagers, not made by like older women. And so that's when this group of social media ambassadors who I work with started to form. And it's basically, young preteen or teen girls who want to create their own accounts. Perhaps they want to be actresses or they want to build their own name in something. They can basically use Luna as a platform to do this. So I have a side group of around 30 teams who basically spot trends, help me film trends. I take them out to do like Luna interview days, like street interviews, and they basically keep us cool and like on the beat when it comes to what's trending.
And for this episode all about targeting the untargetable, I wanted to get a different perspective. So I got the chance to talk with Andre Peart, the founder of Untapped Solutions, and another Startup Battlefield alumni. Untapped is targeting a radically different audience than Luna, but like many startup audiences, this demographic also requires an authentic message to build trust.
I'm Andre Peart, founder and CEO of Untapped Solutions. So we're a case management and workforce platform. On the case management side, we're deployed through prisons, hospitals, and nonprofits that work with formerly incarcerated individuals, survivors of domestic violence, homeless, what we call untapped population. So any organization that works to provide them direct services, improve the outcomes in their life, we're a system that helps them improve those outcomes. We automate healthcare, job placement, relocation of survivors of domestic violence, and a bunch of things that caseworkers would go struggle to do. On the workforce side, we're an AI life navigator. So we deploy AI agents to those same population's phones. Whether you just stepped out of prison, you can sign up to untappedapp.com or go to the App Store and get a life navigator on your phone to help you re-enter society.
That's amazing. I remember probably a year and a half ago then reviewing your application to start a Battlefield and just being so impressed with the meaningful work that you're doing and the reach that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this space?
I was impacted by the sort of same stuff that I try to dismantle now. So I spent 6 years in state prison out of New York during my 20s. And when I got out of there, right, I went through the same journey of trying to reintegrate to society, realizing that with a felony now, everything was harder to do or more paperwork. So homeless shelter, dealing with a caseworker, social worker, and seeing how much they helped me improve my life drove me to become a social worker, caseworker. And then I was able to see how hard it is to help people, and that, we're helping 40 people per case manager. There's 600,000 people coming home from prison every year, 500,000 entering homeless on any given night. And then the amount of survivors, of domestic violence, these numbers were so dramatic to me. I quit being a social worker because I told more people no than I told them yes.
Yeah, and I can imagine telling people no in those situations is just unfathomable. And to be able to build a platform that's scalable and to be able to help as many people as possible and actually get people in jobs and with the resources they need, absolutely understand the motivation there. And tell us a little bit about, so you're targeting sort of two very different audiences, right? Vulnerable populations seeking employment and potential employers who may have reservations. So how do you prioritize which side to build first, and how did that evolve?
So for us, we really are sort of chasing the agencies that are working or holding the individuals. So we work with all these different agencies because employers want talent, and employers, in some cases, they want to hire people who are formerly incarcerated, but they hear the word felony, and we just help employers realize, like, hey, not all felonies are created equal. So we target employers, but also dealing with nonprofits on that side. We don't have to do too much chasing of the talent because every nonprofit that uses our database works with maybe 4,000 individuals, 400 individuals. So every individual they add is a new user for us.
And so is there sort of a direct to consumer or direct to end user go to market strategy, or are you always going through these sort of holding, organizations that you mentioned?
Yeah, so there is a go-to-market strategy. A part of it is the organizations, right? And that's one strategy. The other strategy is just understanding I am Untapped. We have a lot of individuals that have lived experience. Where are they at, right? The streets, shelters, parole, probation. So we target all those places. We're in almost every prison system. So if you're on the tablet, you already have Untapped. We're in a lot of hospitals, and we're in majority of shelters in the cities we're in.
Is there sort of a community element to the platform in any way? I mean, connecting people with others who have similar experiences.
Yeah, when we were only focused on the formerly incarcerated, CNN called us the LinkedIn for the formerly incarcerated. Now we tell people we're the LinkedIn for the Untapped, but there's a news feed where they can share resources with each other, share jobs. Hey, I work here and I have a record. You have a record now, you know a place you can work at. So yeah, there's like a big community aspect to it.
Yeah, and I can sort of imagine that on the one side, the talent pool that you're targeting, the untapped population, it's a fantastic value proposition, right? Here are all of these resources. We want to help you succeed. But on the flip side of it, of course, you have potential employers. You mentioned healthcare. What is sort of your pitch when you're going to market and you're introducing untapped solutions to those sort of organizations?
We use a lot of storytelling. All our emails come with either story videos of somebody leaving prison and then ending up in work, or there's a case study attached, because we understand that inside America right now, second chance hiring has become a big conversation, especially with JP Morgan, a big company, saying, hey, 10% of our workforce is formerly incarcerated and we're starting the fair chance hiring. Even so when companies see that and they're like, oh, Chase is doing it, we realize storytelling is why Chase did it. So our email campaigns always are storytelling.
I mean, you have to get creative with your go-to-market strategies, and that really is what this episode we're building is all about. And I think it's really interesting to focus, of course, on the storytelling, but then you need a platform to tell those stories. And conferences, I mean, podcasts, there's many ways to do that, but positioning yourself as a thought leader and also with your personal story that motivated you to start this company and really lived the experience, right, that you can relate to your customers now. I mean, that is a fantastic story and one that I'm sure resonates deeply with the audiences you're speaking to. Sort of along those lines, how do you build trust with both the untapped talent and employers?
I would say, and I'll just start off with the employers first. When it comes to trust, it's really about not presenting this as charity, because it's the one we don't want to ever say, hey, just please hire these people who are formerly incarcerated, because it's like, they're talented. So like it's value we're giving you, right? Like, so we're still giving you value. It's not charity. And we build the trust through just really understanding what they're concerned about and letting them know, like, hey, we're not asking you to hire this person just because they got a record. We're addressing the concerns you have and understanding you may have concerns about the record and legal. We had that. You may have concerns about them being in prison for 10 years and what skills do they have? That's why when they apply to your job, their caseworkers attached to their profiles, you can see everything they've accomplished. That's built a lot of trust. On the Untapped side, it's just about the company culture, and really, like, we're ran by, I'm a justice impacted individual. I came home to a homeless shelter. I've been, I smoked weed years ago and was addicted to that. So I fit a lot of the untapped population right now. I think a lot of people, when they do join a company, especially Gen Zs now, they want to know who's running the company. We build that trust from there, from our website, letting you know, like, hey, this is for the untapped, but hey, it's built by the untapped.
We'll be right back after a quick break. All that hard work to build trust would be wasted if Andre and Jazz didn't actually walk the walk and do everything they can to protect their users, which made me curious about how they navigate data privacy regulations.
I think in general with our product, and perhaps some of it is a large reason as to why we haven't just switched on in the US, is because of how careful we have to be when working with minors, both from a data perspective, but also the content we're offering them, like the product features, safeguarding, like there is just so much we have to think about. And even before we fully decided that we were going to do this, we had won a small grant, Isabel, and the first thing we did was actually spend it on lawyers to see, like, can we even build a product in this space where, like, you know, parents aren't on the act as well, and it's very much just us working with teenagers. And they said, yes, obviously it's fine, but, you know, you need to have all these like safeguarding pieces in place and like legal things in place. And I think at Luna, trust is something that we take very seriously, and it is really what we have worked on building for the last like 2.5 years and have such a strong foundation on, and is why parents pay for their kids to be on Luna and are happy for them to be on this app. We haven't just rushed it and put something out there which hasn't been carefully thought through. So I think, yeah, that working with Maya in this piece is huge. Second of all, I think that dual audience piece has been really, really difficult. First, in terms of like, how were we going to reach teenagers in a scalable way, like trying to crack TikTok or whatever the channel was going to be, like took us a while. Like we tried Instagram, we tried going via schools, we tried loads of different things on TikTok, and then finally found that Teen Peaks resonated, which was great. But then earlier this year, when we were like, okay, we're going to double down on parents as the payers, we then had to figure out, okay, like what's our dual marketing strategy? Like, are we keeping one channel for parents, one channel for teenagers? We decided to do that. We decided to make Meta our parent-focused channel, but we'd already had this huge audience of teens that were following us, like skewing where all of our like content was showing. So we literally had to retrain the algorithm for like 6 months, and it was just so painful. Like if we just started from scratch, it would have actually been really much quicker. But then figuring out, okay, what language resonates with parents, what content resonates with parents. Parents are just so busy, Isabel. It's a totally different persona to teenagers who are just like, yeah, I'm free, I'll go on a call, or you're like, yeah, I'm free, I'll do this for you. Parents like, we don't have time. But the power of word of mouth referral from a parent is so strong, like that trust piece again. So we've just actually pulled together our first group of parent ambassadors, and they are people whose daughters like love the Luna app. There's about 25 of them at the moment, and they're spreading the word across their schools or local communities or employer organizations. So if that works out, then I want to keep growing that crew as well. I just think that they might need a lot more hand holding than like the teenagers, because they just don't have time. But it would be really, really powerful to get that referral loop going.
If you think about it, word of mouth is everywhere, and it's deceptively powerful. Some of us are lazy, and why do a ton of research to find the best electrician for your weird flickering lights when you can just use the person your friend hired? For many people in communities, word of mouth becomes even more than just a high-value recommendation. It becomes an instant seal of approval. If you're a member of the LGBT community, a mom, a person who struggles with addiction, a formerly incarcerated person, or even a 16-year-old girl who's trying to get her cystic acne under control, a recommendation from someone in your community is going to go a lot further than any ad on YouTube ever will.
So one thing that I always, we thought of doing before was like, hey, attending conferences like most startups. And then we realized that that's not effective for us because 3,000 people want to talk to the same person we want to speak to. And we were like, how do we become the speakers at this conference? Like, that's how you really go to market. And we put ourselves out there when we realized quickly what we were doing was really different. Like, we were happy to now be not just a social impact company, but more so this looked like something totally different for all nonprofits, to have AI caseworkers, to have a system that automatically found the job. And we started to get requested to speak small events, all this kind of stuff. That turned into, like, last year, I keynoted every reentry conference across the country. When it comes to reentry, there was never a technology space in reentry. We're like one of the first companies to do it all the way in 2022. So that's really allowed us that being at these conferences, like I'm at a conference now that I just finished speaking at, right? So this is a real big part of our go-to-market. Then we have events that we started throwing. We built a national reentry coalition and said, hey, there's some city ones and state ones. How about we be the national one and do like workshops, bring people together, learn the problems. It gives customer feedback, but it's growing us. And now this led up to these small virtual events led up to this April. We do our first conference in person in New York.
For some companies, becoming an authentic leader in the space means keynoting conferences. But for others, it might mean releasing annual reports like Salesforce's industry benchmark studies or HubSpot's state of marketing reports. And for others, it means posting up at a Taylor Swift concert.
Going back to like, where do you find teen girls? Where can you like get mass downloads? obviously Taylor Swift. Yeah, I was like, let's go to Taylor Swift. I'll get a group of brand ambassadors to go and we'll basically like do an activation there. So I bought this like massive spinning wheel, decorated it all like lunar pastel colors, bought like a bunch of like glasses, lollipops, like loads and loads and loads of stuff, and then rallied like 8 lunar ambassadors from like across the UK. Like one even came from like Scotland, bless her, to come to this concert. And basically like we all turned up, took over like the runway up to the gig with our huge spin the wheel. And yeah, security came up to us just as we were like got going and were like, hey, like, can we see your permit? And my heart just sank then. I was like, what do you mean permit? This is, this is London. It's a free for all now. And they're like, no, if you're here, like you need a permit. And I was like, oh, I really sorry. Like I don't have a permit, but very happy to buy a permit now. And they're like, no, you're going to have to leave. And I was like, we literally can't leave. Like, not only have I brought this like huge wheel, which was like tall, I'm not a very tall human, but it was taller than me, like into London, but 8 ambassadors have come. Like, look at them, they're so cute, they're really excited. Yeah, no, you're gonna have to leave. Isabel said, no, I'm not leaving right now. Like, someone else is gonna have to ask me to come and like leave. So we just decided to like move around, but the swarms of people were like following us, wanting to like spin the wheel, win the glasses. We got asked 3 times, and on the 3rd time, they did threaten to potentially like call security and kick us out. So at this point, I was like, guys, we're just gonna have to scram and like go. And yeah. But what I will say is we did actually get some viral content on TikTok, not of us, running from security. We managed to actually interview a famous influencer there. And that actually got us viral on TikTok and, managed to get us some like downloads going. So it was all worth it in the end. But honestly, at the time, I have never been so mortified. So that was actually a very great one. I'm really glad you remembered that story. I bet a million more will come to me now after this, because we do try literally everything at Luna. Like, yeah.
So, what can every founder learn from these stories, even if you're targeting a more mainstream audience? Well, it all comes down to being really creative and authentic in how you find and build trust with your users. These founders showed us that if they can come up with clever ways to reach their unique communities and get the right people to pay, then any founder can get creative about how to authentically connect with their own niche. At the end of the day, it's about understanding your audience deeply and being willing to think outside of the usual boxes. And that's something any founder can run with. And now we're excited to introduce our Field Notes segment, where we hear reports straight from the startup trenches from those of you who are out there building things, breaking them, and rebuilding them once again. For this week, we asked you for your most creative go-to-market strategies.
Hi, I'm BC from Justy Guide. Isabel asked, what's the wildest go-to-market you've seen actually work? Here's ours. We've reached 43,000 immigrants in crisis moments, the hardest audience to reach by breaking every SaaS playbook rule. Think about it. Someone's H-1B got denied at 3 a.m. They're panicking, scrolling Reddit, too scared to even Google immigration lawyer because they don't trust anyone. Traditional marketing, useless. They're not clicking ads. They need help now. So we built an AI that monitors Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, not to sell, to respond with empathy. Over 1 million AI-generated responses that say you deserve support instead of buy our service. No cold emails, no paid ads, no sales team, just compassionate automation that finds people in crisis before they know to search for help. The results? 43,000 leads organically, average response time under 2 hours for urgent cases. We even scored 8.5 out of 10 for crisis situations. Here's the kicker. We're running this at $30 per month using 3-tier AI fallback systems. Most companies spend over $3,000 on this. The wildest part, we've sent automated follow-ups to 500, never contacted VIPs, and our conversion rate actually increased because we stopped selling and started caring. One lead wrote, I can't believe someone actually cares at this hour. So we're not just building a lead generation engine, we're building the first AI-powered immigration safety net.
Hey there, I'm Manuela Zonenstein, co-founder and CEO of Chicago-based Kadea. We hydrate frontline workers through a closed-loop beverage station that refills and reuses bottles, eliminating 99.9% of plastic waste, 75% of greenhouse gas footprints, and best of all, a third of the cost of any other packaged beverage. Now, we have a non-traditional go-to-market. We started where no beverage startup goes, industrial work sites in the American heartland. Most startups chase coastal cities or D2C playbooks, but we went straight to construction sites and other industrial workplaces. For weeks during the Chicago summer, our team woke up at dawn to hand out chilled filtered water in our stainless steel bottles, not just to demo the product, but to ask construction workers on sites all through the West Loop of Chicago, how did the bottle feel in their hands? How did the water taste? And did it stay cold? We used that feedback to refine our experience and, more importantly, to build relationships. Workers started asking when they'd see Kadea installed for good. And that bottom-up momentum helped us win over their general contractors like Gilbane Construction and Turner Construction. We've since gone on to double down with industrials. We've converted all of our pilot customers, have a $1.2 million contract with the U.S. Air Force, and are now starting to scale through partners like Canteen Compass Group. And it all started with a non-obvious move, targeting blue-collar hydration in the Midwest to prove that sustainability can, and in fact must, start with frontline workers.
Thank you to everyone who sent in field notes. Stay tuned for upcoming field notes prompts, and in the meantime, if you have any questions you want us to dive into on the podcast, please reach out to podcasts@techcrunch.com. And that's it for this episode of Build Mode. We'll be back next Thursday. If you like what you heard, do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. And you can watch episodes on TechCrunch's YouTube if that's more your style. And if you really liked what you heard, tell a friend about the show. Share it with your community, require your whole team to listen to it. Whatever feels right. All right, see you next week, builders. Build Mode is a TechCrunch podcast. Each episode is produced and edited by Maggie Nye and hosted by me, Isabel Johannesson. Our art and design is also by Maggie Nye. A big thanks to Morgan Little, who leads our audience development, the Foundry and Cheddar video teams, and most of all to you, the builders, and everyone else in the wider startup community. We'll see you back here next time.